Greetings, brothers and sisters. Greetings. I am glad to be here. I have on a green shirt, and this ain't going to work right tonight. But I'm going to make it work. I don't know how, but we're going to figure it out. All right? There we go. That's about the best we're going to get this thing. All right. So, there's something we have to do tonight, and we're going to make it happen. We're going to make it work. And that is dealing with, let me see if I can get some of this cleared out over there. There we go. It's going to be a balance, but we're going to get it. We're going to make it happen, okay? All right, so we're going to do something a little different. And I titled this tonight, Jesus, the First Fruits, according to Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. I'll tell you why. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But we're giving some more to a chance to tune in here. And as they tune in, we're going to be getting started. All right. So I want to say to all of you all, those that tuned in live with us today, we had informed you we would not be doing Come On In My Room tonight because I wanted to take the time to not keep you from 7 o'clock to now, because I know I'm going to probably go about 45 minutes tonight or maybe an hour. But this is important. This is so important that we hit on this and that I show you some things that you need to be aware of as it relates to Feast of the First Fruits and Pentecost. We're away from we're a little ways away, but you have to understand first fruits before you get to that. Now, let me say this. Let's look over in our chat room real quick. I just saw two of our moderators over there. Let's see. We got, well, what did I just do here? I did something, brothers and sisters. There we go. Let's not do that tonight. All right, let me stretch this out and get it to where I want it. There we go. So, and let me lock that. First in our chat room tonight was Brother Kansan Ming. And Brother Kansan, I got your email, and you have about 3 calendars on the way. And Sister Lakeisha Ming, we got our first family in the chat room tonight. All right. Let's see, who else do we have over here? We got Sister Chiruda, Sister Marie, Brother Brian, and Brother Julius. Our first 2 moderators, Brother Brian Johnson, Brother Julius Beecham, Earlene Williams, Adalia Paget, Denise. Brother Asa Fingers is in the house, and Brother Mark P. We got a second family in the house tonight. All right. And there is Brother David East, another one of our moderators in the house tonight. R. Brian, how you been? Okay, so let's get this thing going. This is going to be a lesson where we have to talk. Wait a minute now. Brother David, you in here twice. All right, but that's okay, my brother. We do have Facebook back on. I'm so glad we got Facebook back on in the house. Brother Julius will be here the last Sabbath of the month of April. Shout out to that, brothers and sisters. Passover is this Thursday at 8 o'clock p.m. Come out, be a part of it, and be there on time, because brothers and sisters, we are going to be quick. Elder Scully is going to be doing a quick lesson from 7:30 to 8, a lesson teaching on humility. We always do that, but the regular service starts at 8. Get out there. Pastor John said in an email request, a calendar, and I have not heard. Sister Marie, send me another one. Send me another request, because that is definitely overlooked. So send me another request immediately after this broadcast, and I will make sure we get one out in the mail to you. I apologize, my oversight. So Thank you, Brother Julius, and we had a good time on there. Brother, as I like the avatar, brothers and sisters, I want to show you something. Number one, we, as the people of the book, have to have confidence when it comes to determining certain feast days. Not certain, all of them. One of the things we tend to do is we start to look at the calendar, man's calendar, this Gregorian calendar, to help determine when the feast days are. Sometimes they are in sync. Sometimes they're not. So I'm going to do something, and I'm going to show you where I'm going at with this tonight. So first of all, what is that? That's some plans. I don't need that up. I want to do this because I really want to show this to you. Where's my mouse at? Okay, I want to go over here to Google, and just right here. Is that up? Yeah, that's great. That's what I want. I want to show this to you. When, I want to type this in, because I don't know when it is, but I want to put it in here. When is Easter 2022? Okay? When is Easter Sunday 2022? Now, this is their Easter Sunday, by the way. This is not, has nothing to do with us, but as you can see, there it is. Okay, it's right there, and I put that there so you can see it. Let me see. I'm going to make it smaller. I had this problem last night, but we're gonna figure it out. Oh yeah, we're gonna figure it out. Okay. So it is April the 17th. April the 17th is going to be, brothers and sisters, this coming Sunday. That's their Easter. All right? That's their Easter. That's important to know. Because this year, I'm going to show you how they calculate Feast of Pentecost compared to what we do according to the scriptures. Now, sometimes Pentecost or Easter Sunday is it could be the Sunday before we deal with Passover, but it's sometimes in sync, sometimes it's all over the place. All over the place. But let me just show this to you when we go back to asking that question, when is it? Because tonight we're going to be talking about first fruits, and this is something that you should know. When we go back over here, I'm going to put up here in the search, because I want to know this, and I'm going to put it back up in the search. And the question I'm going to ask, when or how many Sundays is Pentecost? Now, I know what to type in because I know what they do. So I'm going to put it in there. How many Sundays after Easter is their Easter is Pentecost? So here we go. And it says the Christian holiday of Pentecost is celebrated on the 50th day, the 7th Sunday from Easter Sunday. Now, it doesn't matter when Easter is, they're going to always say, okay, this is Easter, let's count 7 Sundays. That's what they always are going to do. Okay? And sometimes their Pentecost Sunday, the way they calculate it, sometimes it falls in sync the way we do it according to the scriptures, but not always. It could be a Sunday before or a Sunday after. And then every now and then, they will both fall in sync with each other. Because Passover will be so close to being the weekend before their, however they calculate, Easter. Okay? So I wanted to bring that out because I want to show you how we calculate. We don't just look at the calendar and say, when's Pentecost Sunday? We have to count. We have to calculate. There's a reason behind that. Now, last year, it was off. They were off. They were off a week. But we do it the same way every year, and we will always be right. And every now and then, the way they do it, they will, and I'm going to use the word luck up, and it will fall on the same date. So, here's how we do it, brothers and sisters. And I want to just show this to you tonight. We're going to go to the scriptures, and we're going to go look at this. We're going to, in particular, look at the scriptures to figure out what is significant about the Feast of Unleavened Bread and Passover that we need to know when it comes to calculating Pentecost. So let's go to Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, and let's go take a look at some stuff. And this is what we're going to look at tonight. Number one, these are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which you shall proclaim in their seasons. We only do this according to seasons. We know in the 14th day of the first month at even is the Lord's Passover. Passover falls Friday, this Friday, commonly called Friday. It falls on the 6th day of the week this year. Feast of Unleavened Bread will fall on the 7th day of the week, the Sabbath. And I want to go down here to this, because the first fruits is not a feast day, it's not a Sabbath, it's just the day that you count. You start counting your seven Sabbaths from. And that's why it's important to know when Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread is. So here we go. In verse 11, it says this. Let's start with verse 9. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When you come into the land which I give unto you, you shall reap the harvest thereof. Then you shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest to the priest. The priest has got to wave the sheaf, which is nothing but a measurement, but it has to be done on the morrow after the Sabbath. The priest shall wave it. First fruits is what I want to calculate on. In the book of Corinthians, let's go over there right now. Corinthians, the 15th chapter. And this is what it says about the first fruits. 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter. And we're gonna learn something about the first fruits. Verse 20. Now is Christ risen from the dead, and become the first fruits of them that slept. In an analogy, the first fruits is about the Feast of the First Fruits is about the first harvest. I say first harvest because I want you to associate the first harvest with the first resurrection. You cannot have the first resurrection until you have the first fruits. And then you count. And Pentecost is the year that the Lord will return. And we will be, those that are in the first resurrection, will be the harvest of the spring harvest, the first fruits. But Jesus is the first fruit of the harvest, of the first harvest. He's the first fruits of that. Because what is that associated with? A harvest is in the ground. It has to be planted. Then when a harvest is planted, it comes forth. When that harvest is ready, it's ready to be reaped. It's ready. Jesus was planted and he resurrected. So he is the first harvest. He is the first fruits of that harvest. So let's go back to Leviticus to find out what we're supposed to do with that first fruits. Let's go back to the 23rd chapter. We're going to come back up here. Don't worry about that. When you come into the land which I shall give unto you, you're going to reap the harvest thereof. Ye shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the ground, unto the priest. You shall bring a sheaf of your first fruits of your harvest unto the priest. So my question to the chat room is, when Jesus was planted on Passover, because he was planted or put in the grave before the Feast of Unleavened Bread, how many days later did our harvest resurrect? I'm going to look for that answer in the chat room, because this is a pop quiz tonight. Pop quiz. How many days later did Jesus resurrect? And he's the first fruits. He's the first fruits. And while you all putting it in the chat room, let me go and show you what the first fruits is. Jesus is risen from the dead, and he's become the first fruits of them that slept. For since by man came death, by man came also the resurrection of the dead. For in Adam all die, even so in Christ shall all be made alive, but every man in his own order. People will resurrect, but Christ is the first fruits. He is the first fruits. Afterwards, we won't, that harvest, that first harvest will not be ready until at his coming. Okay, so we got some answers up in there. Look at all these great answers. 3 days, 3 days, 3 days. Absolutely, 3 days. 3 days, 3 days, 3 days and 3 nights. I even like that. 3 days later. Absolutely. So here's the thing, brothers and sisters. Let's go back and read this in Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. You all are all on point tonight. Let's go back and read something in Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, because we're going to get the rules of engagement. So, when you come into the land which I give unto you, you got to reap the harvest thereof. You got to bring the sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest. And he shall wave the sheaf before the Lord, to be accepted for you on the morrow after the Sabbath. The priest shall wave it. So in the chat room, what what day is the morrow after the Sabbath? I'm going to leave this up here and I'm going to let y'all put that up there. What day is the morrow after the Sabbath? Because the priest has to waive this. Because we're reading in Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, when you come into the land, when you bring a measurement of your first fruits unto the priest has to waive it on the morrow after the Sabbath. What day would that be on? What day is the morrow after the Sabbath? I'm getting some answers here. I'm getting some great answers here. I know what you're saying, Brother Franklin. Sunday, first day. Sunday, first day of the week. Sunday. Absolutely. It's on a Sunday. So, here's the test. Here's what we're getting ready to deal with right now. Let's read something. We're going to read something. Leviticus 23. Ye shall eat neither bread, nor parched corn, nor green ears, until you have brought an offering unto God. So we're reading this, but that offering that's going to be brought unto God is the same offering which is the first fruits. Because that's what this whole part is talking about. You got to bring it on the morrow after the Sabbath. And then when you look at verse 14, it's letting you know when you get that harvest, don't eat it. Don't get the green orange, the green ears, the parched corn, until you have brought an offering unto your God. It's a statute forever throughout your generations. All right? Now, here's the question. Here's the question to you all. And we're going to deal with this right now. I am going to pull up a calendar so we all can see it. I'm going to pull up the calendar so we can see it, class. So give me 1 second here, because I want you all to see it. Let's bring up the calendar. So here's this nice little calendar we got. I got to make it smaller so it'll fit in here. But I want you all to see it. So here's our calendar right here. Let's put it up here. Let's stretch it out so it'll work in there very good and all like that good stuff. Let's put that up in there. Okay, so here's the question. Passover is going to be on the 15th, right here. That's Passover. Being that this is Passover, I want somebody to tell me when is 3 days and 3 nights later. Here's Passover. This year, it falls on the 15th. Jesus is our first fruits. And as I indicated to you all, how many days after Passover? And you all said 3. So looking at this calendar, my question is, when will be 3 days and 3 nights later? Put the answer in the chat room. Put that answer in the chat room. I'm kind of leaving that up there, and I wonder if I can make it a little bit bigger. Okay, somebody says Monday. Monday the 18th. The 18th. I'm getting some good answers here. I like the answers. Because I'm going to see if anybody else got a different answer. Monday. There we go. Getting some good answers. Because if Jesus is placed in the grave on the 15th, the 15th to the 16th is one day. The 16th to the 17th at evening is 2 days and 2 nights. From the 17th to the 18th is 3 days and 3 nights. And let's look at the answers over in the chat room. Absolutely. Sister Chiruda got real fancy. She said the second day of the week, the 18th, the 18th. All of those answers are correct. All of those answers are correct. Now, let's put our calendar back up. We're going to put that calendar back up. Because here's my next question, brothers and sisters. If the 18th, and we go back to Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, which says that you got to bring the first fruits of your harvest to the priest, and it has to be waved on the morrow after the Sabbath. What day would be the morrow after the Sabbath? So I'm going to leave the calendar up there. And I want you to tell me, what day is the morrow after the Sabbath? You can give me the date, or you can give me the day of the week. Sister Adalia, she put an answer in there first. Anybody else? Brother Drake, Brother Carlos says the 23rd. What day would be the morrow after the Sabbath? 24th, 24th. Shasha said Sunday. Let's put this up in the chat room and see where you all coming from. Isaiah Israel says the 17th Sunday. So there's the calendar. And what I want to know, let me see if I can make this calendar bigger for you all. What I want to know is, what day is that on? I can make it about that much bigger. That's it. I can maybe bring it over here a little bit. Maybe bring it down a little bit. That's about as best as I can make it. What I want to know is, there we go. Okay, so let's see what a lot of people have. Here's where we're going at. Most of the answers is correct. Brother Israel, let's deal with why it's not you got the 17th. Because Jesus is in the grave right here on the Friday. Because Friday is Passover. 3 days and 3 nights later, let me go over here to the calendar. 3 days and 3 nights later is going to put you on the 18th. The rules is bring your harvest to be waved on the morrow after the Sabbath. This is the next weekly Sabbath. The 24th is the morrow after the Sabbath. So everybody to put down the 24th is right on point. He says, but I'm not going with 3 days. I'm counting tomorrow after the Sabbath. Then you count. No. Because Jesus is the first fruit. He is the first fruit. He is Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. He is the harvest. So there you go. There you go, Brother Isaiah. So being that he is the harvest, that harvest comes out of the ground 3 days and 3 nights later. Because we just read in Corinthians, Jesus is the first fruits, and here's the key, of the resurrected. So we cannot, it's not when he's placed in the ground, it's when he resurrects. Because he is the first fruits of the resurrected. And that was again over in Corinthians, 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter. So if he's the first fruits of the resurrected, and Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, is telling us that bring a sheaf, which is nothing but a measurement of your first fruits, to the priest on the morrow after the Sabbath, being that Jesus has resurrected on the 18th, we have to bring that sheaf to the priest on the morrow after the 23rd, which will be the 24th. So then, brothers and sisters, you must count from this day as being day one. Now, let me show you something. I'm going to go back. I'm going to take this calendar away, and let me go back over here and bring up the Bible again, because I want to show you something. We're going to go back to the Bible, and we're going to bring something up. We're going to go to the book of John, the 20th chapter. John, the 20th chapter. Now, this is important. During the days of Jesus, we know that he was killed in the middle of the week. How do we know that? Because Daniel 9 and 27 says, he will cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease on the morrow after the Sabbath. So we know that that's when that's going to take place. On the morrow after the Sabbath, he's going to cause the sacrifices and the oblations to cease. When Jesus died, he became our sacrificial lamb. Sacrificial system that they were doing ended because Christ is the lamb. Okay? That was on a Wednesday. 3 days and 3 nights later is Wednesday to Thursday, 1 day. Thursday to Friday, 2 days. Friday to Saturday is 3 days and 3 nights. But because the harvest came out of the ground before sunset on the 7th day, you have to waive it on the next day, because the next day would be the morrow after the Sabbath. What we did this year, Passover fell on a Friday. 3 days and 3 nights later took us to Monday. But we still got to wait till the weekly Sabbath, which is the 23rd, because he's within that week. And the morrow after that Sabbath this year is the 24th. So going again back to the days of Jesus, he was killed on a Wednesday, placed in the grave before the sun went down. So he rose before the sun went down on the 7th day. Therefore, he met the criteria that bring your offering on the morrow after the Sabbath. If Passover was on a Thursday, if Passover was on a Thursday this year, then you would have Thursday to Friday, Friday to Saturday, Saturday to Sunday. But because the resurrection is after the sun went down on that Sabbath, you got to bring your harvest to the priest on the morrow after the very nearest weekly 7-day Sabbath. And then wave it on the morrow after that Sabbath. But because Jesus in his days resurrected before the Sabbath was over, he is within the nearest Sabbath. In fact, it's on the same day. So therefore, he fits the criteria to be waived the next day, being the morrow after the Sabbath. We know that because in John the 20th chapter, when Mary sees him after he had resurrected, because he resurrected on the day before the sun went down. Mary gets there on the first day of the week. So what's supposed to happen on this day? Because he resurrected before the sun went down, you got to bring your first fruits, and on the morrow after the Sabbath, you waive it. So because he resurrected before the sun went down on the Sabbath, he fits the timeline to be waived the very next day, the morrow after the Sabbath being the first day of the week. Let's look at what happens on this day. Mary comes in, and verse 11, after she went and got all the disciples and stuff like that, Mary stood without, it means on the outside of the sepulchre, weeping. And as she wept, she stooped down and looked into the sepulchre and seeth two angels in white, the one at the head, the other at the feet, where the body of Jesus had, past tense, lain. We know this is the first day of the week, but notice that the scriptures are saying had lain, because he resurrected on the Sabbath before the sun went down the day before. And they said unto her, Woman, why weepest thou? She said unto them, Because they have taken away my Lord, and I know not where they have laid him. And when she had thus said, she turned herself back and saw Jesus standing, and knew not that it was Jesus. So let's look at what Jesus says. Let me make this font a little bit smaller so we can get it all in here. There we go. She didn't know that it was Jesus. Jesus said unto her, Woman, why weepest thou? Whom seekest thou? She, supposing him to be the gardener, said unto him, Sir, if you have borne him hence, in other words, if you have taken him out of here, tell me where thou hast laid him, and I will take him away. This is what Jesus said to her next. He calls her name, Mary. She then recognized that she was talking to Jesus. She turned herself and said unto him, Rabboni, which is to say, Master. And Jesus said unto her, Touch me not, for I am not yet ascended to my Father. This is simply saying, brothers and sisters, I have not been waived yet. Because in Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, it tells you, let's go back to that, Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. We're going to come right back here. Ye shall not eat neither bread, nor parched corn, nor green ears, until the self same day you have brought an offering unto your God. You see, until you waive that offering, you may have brought it, but the priest has to waive it. So what Jesus is doing in John the 20th chapter, he's saying, I have to be waived. Now, she don't quite understand this yet. Okay? But he says, touch me not, for I am not yet ascended to my Father. But go to my brethren and say unto them, I ascend unto my Father. So he's basically going to be waived. He's going to be accepted. He's going to be looked at and examined as the first fruits of the harvest. The first fruits of the harvest, brothers and sisters, is the first fruit of the resurrected. Jesus is the first one who became flesh through the seed of a woman, died, buried, resurrected, and then became spirit. He's the first fruits of the resurrected. That's him. He's the one that has become spirit. We had that little boy that died during the days of the prophet. He died. The prophet laid on him, put his face against his and so forth. He came back to life. Lazarus had been dead for several days. He came back to life. But he died again. Jesus died, buried, resurrected, and became spirit because he was waived, he was accepted. And so that's why later that night, then the same day at evening, being the first day of the week, the doors were shut, the disciples were in there. He comes in, he says, peace be unto you. And he shows them his hands and his side. In the other gospel, he let them touch it. Because after this time, he had already ascended. He was waived. He was accepted. And now you can handle the harvest. And Jesus is the first day. He is the first fruits of that harvest. Yes, which is the 8th day. Sunday is, yes. That's another way of putting it. So, brothers and sisters, at this point, Jesus, being the first fruits, was waived on the morrow after the Sabbath, being the same first day of the week that Mary came and she couldn't touch him because he had not yet ascended, to be waived, to be accepted on the morrow after the Sabbath. Because him being the heart. This is another reason why we know Jesus resurrected on the Sabbath. Had Jesus, which we know he didn't resurrect on a Sunday morning, but if he did resurrect on a Sunday morning, we would have to wait till the next weekly Sabbath, and the morrow after that Sabbath, waive him. He would have to be waived. He would have to go to his Father to be accepted as the first fruits. But because he resurrected before the 7th day ended, he met the criteria to be waived on the morrow after the Sabbath. And this is important to know. This is important to know. This is important to understand, because based upon that, we now know how to calculate Pentecost. So let's go back. And the reason why I'm talking about this tonight, brothers and sisters, because on Friday, before the sun goes down, Jesus would be put into the grave. 3 days and 3 nights later, before the sun goes down, which is the 18th, the Monday, Jesus becomes the first fruits. On the 23rd is the Sabbath, and so we waive that offering on the morrow after the 23rd weekly Sabbath, which is the 24th. So the 24th is day 1 of 50, because we're going to read that right now. Let's go back to Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. Check this out. And ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that ye brought the sheaf of the wave offering. Well, when did we bring the sheaf of the wave offering? On the morrow after the Sabbath, which is the first day of the week. And here's key points. 7 Sabbaths shall be complete. And even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath, you shall have numbered 50 days. Now, let's go to the calendar, because that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to go to the calendar, brothers and sisters, and we're going to come up with the date for Pentecost. So here we go. Here's our nice little calendar right here. So we got the calendar. The 15th is Passover. He's placed in the grave before the sun goes down. Before the sun goes down on the 16th is day 1. Before the sun goes down on the 17th is day 2. Before the sun goes down on the 18th is 3 days and 3 nights. Whenever your harvest comes forth, in this case it's Jesus, you have to wave the first fruits of your offering, because he's the first fruits of the resurrected, on the morrow after the Sabbath. Well, here's the weekly Sabbath right here on the 23rd. On the morrow after the Sabbath, it's got to be waved. And then we just read, from the day that you wave the sheaf of your first fruits, 7 Sabbaths shall be completed. Well, let's just simply come over here to the 30th. That would be Sabbath 1. So here's the 7th day. So that's the first Sabbath. Well, here we go. The 7th is the second Sabbath. The 14th of May is the third Sabbath. Here's the fourth Sabbath. Let's make sure I got this right now. 7 Sabbaths shall be completed. Here's the first Sabbath. Here's the second Sabbath. Here's the third Sabbath. The 21st is the fourth Sabbath. The 28th is the fifth Sabbath. June the 4th is the 6th Sabbath, and June the 11th is the 7th Sabbath. Let's go back and make sure we got that right. So here's the 24th. You should count from this day 7 Sabbaths. Sabbath 1, Sabbath 2, Sabbath 3, Sabbath 4, Sabbath 5, Sabbath 6, Sabbath 7. 7 Sabbaths shall be counted, and the morrow after the 7th Sabbath is the 12th. That's June right here, brothers and sisters. Here's June the 1st. So right here, June the 12th is day 50. So if you was to go back to the 24th and count that as day 1, you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So let's just move ahead. 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, 49 days. 7 Sabbaths is right here. And the morrow after the 7th Sabbath, June the 12th, would be day 50. Now I'm going to leave that there for a second. So somebody put down Pentecost June 12th in the chat room. Just write down Pentecost is on Sunday, the first day, June the 12th. Write that down in the chat room. Sunday, June the 12th. I think we got that. June the 12th. Y'all put that in the chat room. So we know how to calculate it. You just learn how to calculate it. Whenever Passover is, you go 3 days and 3 nights later. No matter what day of that week it's on. If it's before the sun goes down, you got to wait till that Sabbath, and tomorrow after, you got to wait till the next weekly Sabbath. And if it falls on the Sabbath, as long as your harvest is out of the ground before the sun goes down, then you wave it on the morrow after the Sabbath. And we know this year, after we calculated that, Pentecost would be on the June the 12th. Now, I'm going to go back over here. Because I don't know when Pentecost is this year for these Gregorian folk who just do it a totally different way. I don't know how they do it. But all I know is that we just read that Pentecost, their Pentecost is always the 7th Sunday from whatever they decide Easter is. So we learned this year, let's go find out when is Easter. When is, I want to put down when is their Easter. They got the 17th in 2022. The 17th. That's what they got here. So let's go back to our calendar. So they got Sunday the 17th. So they're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let me just see if this is right. Because they say that it's the 7th Sunday after Easter. So that's the 24th would be day 1. The 1st is 2. The 8th is 3. The 15th is 4. The 22nd is 5. The 26th, the 29th is 6. And the 5th is a Sunday. That should be the 7th. Let's do it one more time. They got Sunday the 17th is their Easter. We know that's wrong, but we're not going to deal with that. That's 1. May the 2nd, May the 1st is 2. 8th is 3. 15th is 4. The 22nd is 5. The 29th is 6. And the 5th is, they're going to say Pentecost is. Now let's go back over here to the internet. And we're going to say, when is Pentecost in 2022? I'm going to put that up there. Look what they got. June the 5th. June the 5th. So don't go to your calendar to say, oh, Pentecost this year is on June the 5th. No. Because number one, we know Easter and how they calculated, saying that that's the day Jesus resurrected on. We know that that's not right. We know that he didn't rise on a Sunday, because if he rose on a Sunday, Mary would have to wait the next Sabbath and then the morrow after that to waive it. And we know that Jesus resurrected the day before, because as long as he resurrects before the sun goes down on the seventh day, or that week leading into that, he can be waived the very next day. And we know he was waived the next day, and that's why Mary couldn't touch him, because he had to go up and he had to be accepted as the wave offering, being the first fruits. See, we understand this. To us, the oracles were given, brothers and sisters. To us, the answers were given. See, we're not going to just pick a day and say, oh, this is Sunday, this is Easter, and 7 Sundays later is going to, we are just going, see, that's why the Bible says that beast would think to change times and seasons. And let me tell you something, brothers and sisters. I know a lot of folk who's coming in. I argue with a lot of our own people, trying to show them that they said, well, are you sure we're keeping Pentecost on the right way? I'm more than sure, because we're going into the scriptures, we're reading the scriptures, and we know how to calculate it. So we know that this man's calendar can be off. We know that the Jewish people will switch the dates so they don't have a Sabbath back to back. Not Israel. We don't do that. We do it as the Lord commands us. He gives us a way to do it. He teaches us how to do it. And brothers and sisters, we do it accordingly. So when you go look at your calendar and you see Pentecost on June the 5th, you already know that's wrong. You already know how to calculate it. You know you got to go 3 days and 3 nights from Passover. You know that's going to take you to the 18th. And you know the next Sabbath will be the 23rd, and the morrow after the Sabbath, which is the 24th, which is the first day of the week, you're going to count 50 days from that date. 7 Sabbaths shall you have completed. And we know that the 7th Sabbath falls on June the 11th, day 49. And we know day 50 is June the 12th. Brothers and sisters, thank the Lord for giving us insight, understanding, open up our hearts and minds to know what we're supposed to do and how we're supposed to do it. Shout out to all of y'all for giving those correct answers in the chat room. Brothers and sisters, this is our lesson tonight. Jesus, the feast or the first fruits, according to Leviticus, the 23rd chapter. And brothers and sisters, we don't need to follow this man's calendar. We know how to look when the moon is. We know how to calculate the months. We know how to count, and we know what we're doing. And this is why we have to be the light to the rest of the nations of the earth. People are going to try to do something, but they don't get it. And we want to help them. We want to help them. We want to help them get it right. So when you deal with that and somebody says, well, Sunday, June the 5th is Pentecost. You know how to pull out this calendar and you know how to do it. You know that the new moon was on April the 2nd. That was the first day of the month of Abib. You know how to count 14 days later to come up with Passover. And when you put him in the grave 3 days and 3 nights later, that's going to put you on the 18th. I know I'm just repeating it, but I just want you to get it and just kind of lock it in. And you know that's on a Monday evening. You know the 23rd is the Sabbath, and the morrow after that, you got to start counting day 1. And 7 Sabbaths later will be on June the 11th, and the morrow after that 7th Sabbath is June the 12th. So when you speak it and you teach it with confidence. And when somebody says, well, how did they, just say, well, let me tell you who they are. They are Rome. Rome is the 4th beast. How did they come up with it? Because they just thought of it off the top of their heads. And they picked Sunday as being the day of resurrection, as Easter Sunday, and they just simply said, you know what? 7 Sabbaths. 7 Sabbaths after Easter, we're going to make Pentecost. So you know how it was all done, brothers and sisters. And we want to say to you all, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for allowing me to have your time tonight. It's been exactly 1 hour. I told you, just a 1 hour lesson tonight. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow night. Same time, same channel. Thank you for tuning in. Sister Marie, don't forget to put your email request in for that calendar. And if anybody else does not have a calendar, send me an email at, let me show you where you can send that email at, right here at Bethel, BHGTV, Bethel House of God, right there. There it is. Right over there, bethelhouseofgod@gmail.com, and we will send you a calendar, okay? Make sure you put in the subject calendar. Don't forget to put down the name and the address where you would like for us to send it, all right? That being said, we're going to get out of here. Peace and blessings to you, and we will see you tomorrow night right here, bringing you more. We got more this week. We got more this week, brothers and sisters. We got more to come, and you want to tune in. God bless you. Have a good night. Let the words of our mouth and the meditation of our hearts, let it be acceptable in His sight. Lord, be our strength and our Redeemer. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless you. Thank you again.